Today you're going to make a sculpture of a human figure out of wire. This wire is made out of aluminum. It's going to make your fingers a little dark. I don't know why a silver metal makes your hands black, but it does. This is a rather long piece of wire, but I folded it in half. I wanted to do the center. If you start from the end, you're going to have a really long piece of wire to work with. This makes the length of the wire not quite as big. And I'm going to start with the head. I would not make the head too big. That's about as big as I have it here. My figure does have a neck and has shoulders. We don't want the arms to come directly out of the head. That's just not going to look right. So here's going to be the arms. And I would make them maybe a little longer than you think they're going to be, because you can always make them shorter, but it's a lot trickier to make them longer. If I want to make them shorter, I can just fold it over later. We're going to avoid cutting the wire if we can. If you want them to be the same length, put them next to each other and then compare. So here we have the head, the neck, here's some shoulders. This is going to be the abdomen, and here's a couple of legs. While I was working on this, it got a little twisted up. There we go, I untwisted it. And here's going to be the hips. And one leg, and again, I would make it a little longer than you think you need to, because you can always make it shorter. And the same thing on the other side. I'm going to compare them so they match. Okay, this is the basic frame. You'll notice it's not really in any action pose right now. Here's the head, shoulders, arm, abdomen, hips are here, the two legs. Later when we need feet, all we'll need to do is push those up. And at this point, you're going to need to get some air in your sculpture. We're not going to make this solid aluminum. We're going to introduce air, because remember, we're going to be doing a drawing using a viewfinder. I happen to be going around in a kind of a spiral, like I'm doing the ribs. That's one way of doing it. It's not the only way, it's not the best way, but it is how I'm going to get some air in there. These shoulders don't look like mighty shoulders yet, so I'm going to put a little bit of air there. If you run out of wire, we can get you more. I haven't had good luck with these sculptures if I give you too much wire at the beginning, because it just turns into a big old tangle. The really great wire artists make the reason I started on the leg just now is because the bottoms are getting a little tangled, the part that's off the screen. And since this is another wire, if I shorten this a little bit, it can help me to have success. There's some hips. I can go back and forth as many times as I need to. Up and down. He's not going to be a stick man. He needs to have a little bit of mass, but the mass shouldn't be solid. All of your sculptures are going to stand on something. They might stand on their feet, they might stand on their arms or their head. So as you go, and work it into the pose that you've chosen. Leave something there that you can use to attach it to your base. Remember, we're going to make a base out of ceramic. I'm going to roll out a slab. Yay, slab. Okay, this head is so one-dimensional. I'm going to give it a little bit of 3D. I'm going to sphericize it a little bit. I can just keep wrapping till I've used up all of the wire. Or I can make it shorter. In this case though, I think I really do need to make it a little bit more 3D. Even after measuring, it looks like I got 1 foot longer than the other. I'm going to solve that by bending this up. And I don't like those ribs. It has a double head now. I'll fix that in a little bit, or not. Okay, now, when I create the wire for you to use, I bend over the ends like that because that's for safety. You and your table mates are going to have wires whipping all over the place. And if we have the sharp end of that sticking out, someone's going to get a scratch on their eye, and we can't have that. But if at any point you do feel like you do need to cut it, then when we cut it, this is what we do. We make a little crimp like that. We don't cut all the way through, it just makes a notch. Then we go back and forth, and it comes off. The reason we don't cut all the way through in one is, first off, it's not so good for the pliers, but more importantly, this little piece that gets cut off, it goes flying and it can get in someone's eyes. I have had students damage their eyes working with wire, so we do need to be very, very careful. Okay, so alright, then I'll work with the form, put it into whatever pose I'm going to have. If this foot is going to be what it's going to stand on, then I need to make it standable. Okay, so we have something to glue it onto the form with. Now I'm not real thrilled with this. I'm going to pull it out and push it up, and I think it should have a little bit more air there, and I don't think that looks so unified with the rest of the body, but that's pretty much what you're going to do. For most of you, when you bend them, you do want to keep in mind, where does the body bend? Does it bend at the hip, at the shoulder, at the elbow? We want to bend them on the places where bodies naturally bend, unless we're doing something a little different. So maybe he's playing football or soccer. Maybe he's having a fight with his girlfriend, and so he has an attitude, or maybe he's in love, whatever. Okay, so put him in that pose, and then the very last thing you're going to do is, with a tag and a string, you're going to tie with string your name and title to the head. That way, because we have to put them away for a little while, we're going to be attaching them to a piece of clay, and we haven't done that yet. We haven't made that. So there's a little bit of lag between when we finish them and when we start them. And I don't want to forget whose sculpture is whose, and I don't want to forget what names you gave them. So anyway, good luck.